Support has been provided by the Barron Collier Jr. Foundation. Since 1973, the foundation and members of the Collier County family have contributed to over 100 charities in support of health, education, conservation, and abused women and children in Southwest Florida.
John Halgrim was the eldest of 4 children. He possessed a lot of the characteristics of a firstborn child. He was a natural leader and protective of his 2 younger brothers and his only sister that looked up to him. He would look out for his friends too. John had a big heart and was sensitive to other people's feelings. He loved to fish and would go out with his younger brother as often as he could. He was also an excellent soccer player. When he was 13, people noticed he was really starting to get good, and he was chosen to try out for the Olympic Development Program. He made the team and was really excited about it. He was definitely a boy a mom could be proud of. He was my son.
One Saturday in 2006, in his hometown of Fort Myers, Florida, 13-year-old John Halgrim was scrimmaging with his soccer team. John was struggling to control the ball and kick it where he wanted it to go. His mother, Joni, noticed there seemed to be a problem and asked him what was wrong. John said he was feeling dizzy and off balance, and that he felt like he had a headache. His mother took him to see a doctor who wrote a prescription for what he thought were just allergies. However, John's symptoms didn't go away. His headaches were increasing and he became nauseous. Eventually, he was able to see a neurologist and get an MRI. There were areas of inflammation that appeared as a white mass. The next step was to talk to a brain surgeon and get a biopsy.
I took him out to California to a doctor that was supposed to be the very best surgeon in the world, and I said, "Can you take this tumor out of my kid's head?" I mean, I flew him all the way out there for a 15-minute appointment, and just to look him in the eye and say, "Please, tell me you can do something." And he said, I can't.
John entered his freshman year of high school determined to fight as best he could. That attitude gave him one of the best years of his life. Midway through his treatment at St. Jude, Make-A-Wish approached John and his mother and informed them that he was to receive a wish.
I just didn't want my son to have a make-a-wish. I didn't want that to be the reality of it. I wanted him to get better. But he kept pushing me. His brother Justin suggested to meet a famous football player like Tim Tebow. His sister Jamie wanted to go to Atlantis in the Bahamas to swim with the dolphins. And I thought it would be really cool to take a family vacation to Hawaii. But John surprised us all and told Make-A-Wish that he wanted to build an orphanage in Africa. And Make-A-Wish looked at him and said, well, I don't know how we're going to do that. You know, we could maybe fly you there, but we're not a fundraising organization.
At church, John had seen missionary videos of kids in Africa and other places. Those stories and images made a lasting impression. John wanted to help kids that had less than he had.
As John's health started going downhill, the family was experiencing more stress, more pain. It was getting more difficult, and I started to feel very sorry for my sister, her family, and John. And I asked the pastor, Pastor Orlando, to go over to the house and try to encourage them, try to maybe help them get to church, or just try to deal with the pain of this horrible disease.
And meeting John and just hearing his heart and hearing how not so much the struggle with the tumor, but how much his passion and his heart for God and his passion and his heart for others, it just touched me, and it moved me in a profound way that I thought, you know what, others should hear this young man's story. So I decided to take a small film crew over there and capture his story and share it with our church. I think many times in our lives God gives us the opportunity to meet lots of people, but on special occasion God allows us to meet few people who really touch our hearts and impact us in such a way that we'll never forget it. And that's what happened to me as I went to go see John Halgrim. So I'm going to show you this video that in a small way captures a little of John's heart and his spirit and his passion and his faith for God.
What I have to say is obvious and knowledge free for all of us.
Hi, I'm John Halgrim, 15 years old. About March 16th of last year, 2006, I was diagnosed with inoperable astrocytoma in the bottom back of my brain. When I originally became diagnosed with this tumor, I praised the Lord every Sunday, but I never really knew Him like I do now. I know that He's got something great planned for me. I honestly believe that one of the reasons I have this tumor is so I could have done this Make-A-Wish thing, and so I could raise money for all the kids over in Africa, and free kids from slavery, give them food, start churches, all those good things.
After the video, Pastor Cabrera told the congregation he would contribute that Sunday's offerings to help make John's wish come true. They collected $13,000 that day.
I was sitting in church on a Sunday morning where they were showing a video of a young, terminally ill 15-year-old boy named John Halgrim. It was his wish that he would help the starving, hungry kids in Africa. And it came to me that since I was with an organization that helps the extreme poor in emerging countries, that this would fit like a hand in glove for us to build an orphanage over there and name it after this young man.
Architectural plans were drawn up and additional fundraisers were held to raise the $70,000 needed to build an orphanage in Nairobi, Kenya. Meanwhile, John underwent chemotherapy to shrink his tumor. He felt good at times, but eventually John's health worsened and he lost his voice. Although he was unable to speak, he was able to see the architectural plans for a building in his name. John was very proud, knowing that he was going to make a difference in other children's lives. Sadly, after a year and a half of courageously fighting an aggressive tumor he could not defeat, John's body gave out. Joni lost her son on a Saturday, November 10, 2007 at 9 a.m. John was only 15 years old.
A few weeks after John's funeral, I met Francesca Donnellan, a reporter from the Fort Myers News Press. She came to my house and we talked about John's wish.
She graciously told me she was going through mourning, intense mourning, and she described his life and his wish and his hopes and his dreams.
A short time later, Francesca wrote a front-page story that ran for 2 days, making the public aware of John's wish.
When it came time to go to Africa, I did not want to go because I was grieving about John, and I didn't want to deal with that. But I remember promising John that I would follow through with his wish. I promised him over and over, and so I had to go.
Joni became part of a small mission group from Southwest Florida called Help the Least of These, named after a Bible verse in which Jesus said, "Whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers of mine, you did for me." Matthew 25, verse 40. As the group prepared to leave for Kenya, they stuffed their suitcases with as many clothes as they could for young girls and boys who had next to nothing. The John E. Halgrim Orphanage is located in a poverty-stricken area of Nairobi called Pipeline, named after a once thriving factory no longer in operation. The orphanage is a two-story building surrounded by run-down residential buildings with makeshift businesses occupying the ground level. The street in front of the orphanage is narrow and often muddy. Unemployment is high in this country, with jobless rates ranging from 40 to 70%.
The John E. Halgrim Orphanage over there has a sign on it that says the John E. Halgrim Safe House. They call it a safe house because it's a safe place for these children to be, where before they were not safe at all. They were in danger of being exploited, and they were in danger of having a life of servitude to someone else, and they were in danger of being backward and not educated for the rest of their lives. These kids are so loving.
How are you guys? How are you?
They warm your heart.
The children in the orphanage absolutely love being there. They are so grateful to have this shelter and each other and the support of Miriam and George, who they call Mom and Dad, because they haven't known that before. These kids are so grateful for every little thing that they have.
I also know exactly what happens in the heart of children who have no parents, what they go through, the despair, the anguish, and what they don't get in life, the basic needs. They don't have shelter, they don't have clothes, they don't have food.
I thank God for John Halgrim Orphanage. It has really done a lot. I can see children smiling. They have a good place to sleep. They have good water to drink. If it was not for this home, some of them would have died long time ago.
Living conditions are modest by North American standards. The children sleep in bunk beds in 2 large rooms, one for boys and another for girls. Some of them had never slept on a mattress before coming to the orphanage.
This is my bed. If you can see that I have a big box, clothes here, and my books here for studying.
It's just amazing. I mean, you realize then that these kids have absolutely nothing. They're all by themselves. They have no identity. They have no birthday. They have just nothing. And the orphanage for them is their first family. We decided we would assign a birthday to kids that didn't have one, so that you would have a birthday, a day that they could celebrate that was their own. And that's part of the culture now in the orphanage, where they actually have a birthday, and it's a special day.
While the mission group was there, 2 doctors from Tennessee came to the orphanage to provide checkups for the children.
Is he able to see out of this side on? Can he see out of that eye?
Quite much longer. He doesn't see clearly.
Waiting to be examined, the children sat playfully and enjoyed lollipops. Some of them had never had such a special treat, not to mention a medical exam.
One of the things that I noticed about the orphans was the joy that they exhibited, and that was really in contrast to the surrounding area and the extreme poverty.
One of the kids in the orphanage, Elias, had been in slavery and was rescued. He wants to have a goal to help get him out of the slum area and get himself a profession. He really wants to make something of himself and get away from his past.
I would like to be a journalist, and also I'm an actor. Thank you, as you see me. Elias Mugo, from John E. Algrim Children Orphanage, Nairobi.
I wanted to know what their favorite colors were and what they wanted to be when they grew up and what they loved and what they enjoyed doing. So many kids wanted to be pilots, and little girls drew hearts and flowers and smiley faces and just real basic things.
I love you. And I'm Brenda. Say thank you. Thank you. Asante.
The orphanage is their family, but eventually the children will grow up and create their own lives. The house parents take much care in preparing them for their ultimate departure.
We are coming together as a family.
Because you are 18 or you are 20, just leave the orphanage. Where do you go? And there's nothing you can hold in your hands. But our desire is that they can leave the orphanage when they have something that they can depend on themselves.
I believe that when I come out from this orphanage, I will have a good future by God's grace. And when I grow up, and I want to be a computer engineer or to learn more about the computer.
I want to be a doctor and treat many children, orphans like me, and go to all parts of the country treating people who are sick.
Kubwa ukisha soma.
Nda kwa journalist wa America.
Paris is saying she wants to be an international journalist traveling the world in journalism.
Kibera is located in Nairobi and is home to 1.2 million extremely poor Kenyans living in unsanitary and cramped conditions. The air smells of human waste and garbage. Chickens drink from urine and fecal ditches cut in each side of the bumpy roads. Kids run barefoot through all of this. A man, woman, and 5 to 6 children live in a 10 by 10 cubicle made of mud, sticks, and a tin roof. There's no running water and no electricity. They have to use a public bathroom. During the day, that's bad enough. But at night, it's no place for a young woman alone who risks any number of dangers, including rape, pregnancy, and HIV. Joni and the mission members visited a new school that was built in Kibera by the organization Help the Least of These. The children all seemed happy. They sang songs and appeared to love the attention.
We were able to capture the joy of the kids and turn them into pictures that could be placed on a calendar. So now we've created a calendar that can be distributed to anyone who wishes and to the donors that are supporting each one of these children in the Kibera slums in the preschool.
Since soccer was such a big part of John's life, the mission group brought new uniforms for a team that renamed itself the John Halgrim Stars. Joni proudly took part in the opening ceremonies.
It's an honor to be here.
Anasema ni furaha yake kuwa hapa.
John was 15 when he went to heaven, but
anasema John ambaye tunamkumbuka alikuwa na umri wa miaka 15 wakati aliaga.
To start off the tournament, Joni attempted a free kick on goal.
Okay. Woo!
In honor of John, Joni wore his number 25 on her jersey and played his position at mid-left field.
John Hungrim is important to me because it has helped me in my education. Now I'm going to school and I was not going. Now I'm eating and I was not eating. Now I'm sleeping well and I was not sleeping. Now I thank so much John Hungrim for that.
A lot of people have passions outside there. There are passions for animals, passion for trees, passions for rivers. But I've never seen people having passions for the plight of an African child who is homeless, who is naked, who is hungry, like the Americans.
Over there, for $1 a day, you can help support a disadvantaged or an orphan child. And over here, $1 a day wouldn't even buy one meal, much less 3. And it wouldn't provide clothing or shelter or an education or medical attention. You get more bang for your buck by going over there because the money goes so much further.
From our friends.
Now, sometimes people ask us, why there, why not at home? And I find that many of the people that ask that question, when I ask them, well, what are you doing at home, actually have no answer for that.
This is the most rewarding thing that I've ever been involved with in my life. So what seemed like just a small thing to do has become a major focus in our lives, and it has captivated me totally, and my heart is just overjoyed.
John Hallgrim had a hard ending of his life, and his mother and his family grieved for him, but he said, maybe I'm supposed to die for the kids in Africa. And when you're standing in that orphanage and you see those faces and you hear those stories, you wonder, is it possible?
The boy selflessly caused something to happen which has helped over 50 young orphan kids over in Africa, because it's given them a home, a place to belong, and has given meaning to their lives.
Here's a boy, he's 15 years old, he's dying from a brain cancer, and his desire is to help others. And you know, it's just amazing. You know, you see him, you know, he has very little time left, and they show his medicines. You know, he has just a table full of pills and things that he's taking, and you know, just to keep him alive just a little longer. And in that condition and that time, you know, at 15, his desire is to help others that are less fortunate. You know, and it just grabs you. You know, you just can't believe that he would have that level of maturity and that desire to help others in his final days.
When we think of John, I hope that we'll think of a kid that really loved others with all of his heart, and a kid that, you know, that really believed that he could make a difference with his life, and he did.
He was so caring about other people. It really made me take a look at my own life and realize that maybe there were things that I could do better, but his heart was so big, and it was great to go to Africa and see that his dream came true.
I feel visiting the orphanage has allowed me to see firsthand how my son's wish is able to give these children a higher quality of life.
No, it's fine.
I will continue to support the orphanage and help do whatever I can to make sure the children have a better future. I'm so grateful that this was John's wish, because for me, it's given me a way to feel like I'm still connected to John, and that his wish is helping me heal. Knowing John, that was probably part of his plan. He really was an incredible son.
On June 3, 2010, the Uncommon Friends Foundation of Fort Myers, Florida, honored John Halgrim's family with a lifetime membership award, citing John for his moral values, his sense of purpose, and his commitment to helping others.